Now, we do not go into much detail about central police theory. Let's just summarize some major conclusions of central police theory. First point is an urban system is hierarchical. So when you use the term hierarchy, you are talking about, we tend to think about the things are the way the things are organized. They organize in some kind of a layer, different layer, lower layer, medium layer, and top layer. So these are the notion of hierarchy. In the concept of central place theory, hierarchical structure means that central places come in different sizes. There are large places, medium-sized places, and small-sized places. So that's what we mean when we talk about hierarchy. Okay, the size hierarchy. Of course, when you talk about the large, medium, and small, it's a descriptive terms, not very specific. And this kind of a concept is change from country to country, from region to region. How large is large? For a country that has many people, they can easily come up with places with 100,000 people. But for a small country to have only 1 million to begin with, you come up with the places of 100,000 people is very large already, and therefore large, the term large is 100,000 people is not very large for a country that has many people, but 100,000 people is a very large size for a country that has a smaller population. So this concept of large, medium, and small vary from place to place. It's contextualized, and that is what we try to explain. So it's a large, small, and medium depending upon what particular region, what particular country, what specific context we are talking about. But the hierarchical concept is seems to be clear. Here on the bottom left, we have a map that shows the St. Louis metropolitan area. So you have the dot that shows the settlement, and they can be in different sizes. So that is the concept of a hierarchical settlement system. On the right side, you see the satellite image of the St. Louis metropolitan area. Now, second point that we can summarize about central police theory is that in general, there's more smaller settlement and there's fewer larger settlement. So that's you look at this picture that shows that at the bottom you have a smaller sized settlement, villages, and many villages. Then you move up the hierarchy, you have a small towns and the large towns, and again when the size increases, the number of settlement become smaller. On the very top, you have only one settlement that is on the top. It is the largest city in the entire urban settlement, and that is the notion of hierarchy. It also indicates that the large places become fewer, and small places you have there are many smaller places. Okay, the reason is we're going to mention this later on, that in large places you have many specialized services, and those specialized services not only serve in local area, they serve entire region. They serve almost, for some specialized services, they serve entire country, and therefore there's no need to duplicate those specialized services over the entire country. So if you need those services, go to get them from large places. And also, it's very expensive to duplicate all these specialized services in all places. So there's no need for that, not economical. And also, we talked about early on that for more specialized services, people who will be willing to travel longer distance to get those specialized services, and therefore people can travel from smaller places to large places for specialized services, and so there's no need to duplicate all specialized services in smaller places, and just not people simply cannot afford to support specialized services in small places because there will not be enough demand from a local market for more specialized services. So that's one of the most important reasons that why we have more smaller size settlement and fewer larger size settlement. So this is a kind of intuitive. Then number 3 point is the distance between cities. Here we can summarize for smaller size settlement, smaller cities, they tend to be closer to each other. And you can easily to travel a small place to another small places. Large cities are further tend to be further apart, so you tend to see a longer distance between a settlement of larger sizes. You take a longer trip to get to larger places. Now we have a map of North Dakota. On this map, you can see that settlements are marked with dots of different sizes. In general, or on average, you can see that the dots are larger in size tend to be further apart compared with the dots that are smaller. The dots are small in size tend to be closer to each other. So this is the point, one point that central place theory tend to make. Smaller places are in general, on average, are closer to each other, and larger cities, on average, further apart, especially for those places that are with more of a homogeneous plane. When you have some special geographic features, such as rivers, things may change. And across the river, you may have a two-port city on different sides of a river, and because of two cities develop on different sides of a river, and both cities become large in size, but the distance between the cities is only the width of the river. So in this particular case, you may have situations where two large cities are really close to each other. But in general, when we have a homogeneous geographical feature, such a homogeneous plane, you tend to see this rule tend to be true. Smaller places are closer to each other on average, and larger places tend to be further apart. The next point, number 4, is the relationship between city size and service functions. Here in general, we can summarize smaller size places tend to offer mostly basic services and with lower thresholds. Think about kind of services from your hometown. If your hometown is places such as Troy, such as Maryland, such as Caseyville, you can imagine that the services that are provided in those places are really basics. You don't see many specialized services, very kind of upscale, large-scale services. Okay, what you see maybe the grocery shopping, the haircuts, basic restaurants, and the gas stations, some car rental places. So those kind of services. Then you have a larger cities tend to offer for not only basic services, but also specialized services as well. And those specialized services tend to have a higher threshold. Think about St. Louis, think about Chicago. Not only people who live in St. Louis need the basic services such as grocery store, the drugstore, a gas station, a haircut, but also in places such as St. Louis, you can find very specialized services such as professional sports, the music hall, concert hall, art center, museum, and the science center, the hospitals. So these and the federal court. So these are more specialized services, and with a high threshold. Those specialized services not just serve the customers who live in St. Louis, they also serve customers who travel from other places into St. Louis. And that's why those specialized services have a higher threshold, therefore they also have longer range as well. So in general, that's why we in a large city we would expect that all kind of business are very more diverse than smaller places. And here the table at the bottom is a table that comes from Chrysalis' book, Stranger Places in Southern Germany. And you can, let's focus on, first look at the first column here. These are a series of centers. You may talk about the regional center, local center, and eventually the top regional center. So this center of different level, different hierarchical positions. Okay, a number of places. So this is top at the top of this region, and this top center is only one. At the bottom of the center, very small places, you have 486. Okay, and how far they are apart? You can see on average, the small centers are apart only 7 kilometers apart. When you increase the size of a settlement, the distance between them become further apart. Okay. And also you look at the area, the size of a market area. On average, well, smallest market area is 4 square kilometers. On the top, the market area is 108 square kilometers. And let's look at the number of type of goods offered. In a smaller size places, only 40 different kind of goods or services offered. But on the top, you have 2,000. So that gives us a sense of how the city size and the service functions of places are closely relate to each other. Okay, and also you can see that the typical population who live in places of different sizes. For smaller sized places, it's on average 1,000, but on the top, it's 500,000. So that gave us a sense of hierarchical, just a concept of hierarchy coming in not only the size of the places, but also it go along with the kind of services that you expect to get from those central places. Okay, the smaller center has a small in terms of a size of a population. Also, it also offer only a smaller number of services, and mostly they are basic services. For large cities, they have more people and serve larger areas. They not only they have basic services for people who live within the settlement, but they also have more specialized services that serve the needs of people who not only live on the settlement, but also outside the settlement. So outside customers can travel to the central place to receive the specialized services. So that's give us a to explain this point about the relationship between city size and service functions. Then point number 5 is about travel pattern. Customers are willing to take shorter trips for basic services, are willing to take long trips for more specialized services. Well, I already kind of explained this point repeatedly in a concept of a range and threshold. Okay, for those basic services, we see the grocery shopping. This map really shows that customers' travel distance on average pretty short at the local level. Visiting physicians trips longer than grocery shopping. Trip to lawyers when you are in trouble, you really need those kind of specialized services. Again, travel distance became much longer compared with travel distance for grocery shopping. Finally, shopping for women's clothes. Women's clothes are very expensive, especially when you come to talk about very stylized, very expensive, or even wedding gowns. So those kind of merchandise require very careful comparison between the different fashions, different style, different price range, Therefore, customers will be willing to travel very long distance to make the trip and so make the trip make the purchase. So that gives us a sense of how the travel pattern closely relate to the notions of uh, the threshold, range, and the kind of services that you are looking for. So basic services, you expect shorter trips, but for more specialized trips, you expect longer trips. Just think about your own experience. So if you want to get a soft drink, how far you are willing to travel, how long you are willing to walk to get soft drink, how far you are willing to travel if you have a weekend fine dining trip. So how long you are willing to travel for fine dining experience. Also, how far you are willing to travel to watch a professional sports. So these are all from your personal experience. You can really understand this particular point. And finally, there's an important concept in central place theory, nested market. And this is a concept that can be explained as smaller cities are located within markets of larger cities. The market of a larger city may contain layers of markets of smaller centers, kind of a tongue twister. And let's use some example to explain this notion of nested market. Let's say that you live in a local community. So if you want to get a haircut, you would travel to this probably town center where you have some barber shops where you can get a haircut. This could be a town center, or it could be a street along a street of stores and shops where one of them is barber shop. So you would travel to this place to get a haircut. So this is the market area of a barber shop. So you live within this market area. Now, you say that you want to also get the you also want to get uh, kind of see your doctor. Your doctor is not have office not close to the haircut place, but somewhere else. Therefore, you would have travel from where you live to this place, a larger kind of a commercial center here within the city. And now you can really see it that you are not the only customers who see this doctor. There are other customers who live here. They all come to this place to see your doctor. So your doctor's office have this larger size market area. So this larger size market area for physician care contain a smaller market area, which is haircut market area. So how this smaller market area for haircut is nested within this larger market area for physician care. Okay. Then you also want to enjoy professional sports, and you would travel to St. Louis, for example, to watch baseball. And when you travel to St. Louis baseball, so this is St. Louis, and this is the market area that serve entire St. Louis area where Cardinal fans lives. So this is a big market area. Within this big market area, it contains a smaller market area of physician care and even smaller market area of haircut. You can see how this market area of different service activities are nested within each other. So that is what this point trying to point out. The smaller cities are located within markets of larger cities, and the markets of a larger city will contain layers of markets of smaller cities. So if you understand this map, you would understand the kind of maps that you would find in Chris Dollar's Central Place Theory book. And that map looks very confusing, very complicated, but the idea is very straightforward. The idea is very simple, and that is these market areas of central places of different sizes are nested within each other. In this example, the largest market area is this green hexagonal shape of market area. Within this large market area, you have the second largest market area, the blue hexagon. And within this, you also have a further smaller market area, the red hexagon. And within that, you have a black hexagon. So this is a nested market area. They all represent a particular service. So those are smaller market areas, the basic service, and that serve this smaller market area. Then you have more specialized services such as the blue market area, and that more specialized services serve this blue market area. Then this, most specialized services serve this green market area. So that is what causes there's a series of hexagons nested within each other, forming a kind of a seemingly complex, confusing structure, but the essential point is same as this map. Okay, so that is another point that we can summarize in the context of central place theory.